Good evening, everyone. We welcome you all to the sixth edition of Interaction Design Symposium. The IXD Symposium is a series of talks and discussions between academic experts and students. The topic for today's session is AI in design. Artificial intelligence is gradually embedding itself into every facet of our lives, from conversational tools like ChatGPT or cutting edge AI features in Figma. The impact of AI on design is both profound and transformative. It is reshaping our processes and opening up realms of possibility. This session aims to delve into the impacts of AI that will be there on design and how we, as designers, can arm ourselves with new skills to leverage this powerful technology. It is my privilege to welcome Dr. Debayan Dhar as he leads us through an insightful exploration of AI's impact on design and shares his vision for a future where technology and creativity coexist.
Uh, Dr. Debayan Dhar is a design educator with a decade-long experience in shaping minds of budding designers. He completed his PhD from the Indian Institute of Technology, Guwahati. He was also a recipient of the prestigious Fulbright Nehru Doctoral Fellowship in 2012 and the BRICS Young Scientist Award in 2018. Dr. Dhar is currently an associate professor at IIT Guwahati. He is known to empower students to explore the boundaries of design and foster critical thinking. His teaching philosophy includes creating a discursive space for students to explore a diversity of real world situations and push the boundaries of design to come up with innovative design solutions. He believes in integrating design ethnography with smart technologies to confront societal challenges effectively. As a researcher, his areas of interest are vast, but primarily focuses on exploring the dynamic intersection of design and technology, where creativity flourishes and innovation thrives. So, without any further ado, let's get started with this exciting knowledge session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Pallavi and Deeptam. Hope I am audible to all of you, loud and clear. Okay, great. So, first of all, thank you once again for giving me this opportunity to interact with all of you. Recently, I had the opportunity to meet Professor Baral in Pune. And in fact, he was asking me to come down to Bangalore and have a session on design research, which might be fruitful in the future as well. Now, before I begin today's session, I would like to know about the quick backgrounds. I mean, 35, 36 participants is not easy for individual backgrounds. But what is the demographics? All interaction designers or visual designers, any one of you can give me quick demography of all the participants.
Right now, there are students joining from three different campuses, namely NID Ahmedabad, Gandhinagar, and Bangalore. However, if you're not mistaken, but the major crowd is from the Bangalore center, that is the IT integrated sector.
Okay, great, wonderful. So, yeah, so I mean, this is going to be an informal talk anyway. I would rather like to have a Q&A more than giving lectures, because I really hate lecture when I was a student, you know. I really hate slides. And that too, when we talk about AI and computer systems, there's a hell lot of mathematics, statistics, data, which I really used to hate as a student. But now, as my hairs are turning gray, I really feel that the scope and opportunity for designers are much more in removing this fear of using these technologies than accepting these technologies and leveraging its ability and use it in very innovative ways through which we can address the societal problems. So today's lecture that I'm going to, very brief lecture I have prepared anyway. I will not deep into very um, intellectually heavy discussions, but very superficial discussions on how AI is changing the way in which designers are working. So I graduated in 2009 with an MDes from IIT Guwahati itself. And in fact, we were there, the very first batches of user experience designer. Let me tell you some story before I start. You know? So when I joined the industry in Bombay, um, uh, we were not even called as designers, interestingly. We were called as user experience analyst, you know. So the design term was pretty secured for people who are really good and they do a great lot of work in visual design, also in product design. So the industry at that time was very naive. Um, and as you know, India, in terms of innovation in IT, until a few years back, we were lacking. But now gradually we are taking a lot of strides in it. So post 2010, there was a big boom in the industry in terms of UX, HCI, human computer interaction, interaction design, information designer, information architect. Now, by the way, all these terms, they might seem very, sounding very similar, but there are pretty differences in between them when we dive into the details of the practices that we are talking about. So at that point of time, the overall practice of a UX designer was first go for a survey, do a good survey with your end users, come out with some good insights, create a design brief, create a persona, create a wireframe, information architecture, right? And the final wireframes and the UI. I'm sure after even a decade, it is still pretty same. If you see the portfolios of UX designers, interaction designers, or any IT, design related disciplines, you would find pretty same this kind of uh, stuff in their portfolios. Now, this is where it is becoming very difficult for recruiters to recruit good people. Because if you go to Behance and if you download a portfolio, what would you see? Predominantly, you would see a persona, you would see wireframes, you would see information architecture, you would see very nice stacking of final UIs, right? Task flows. This is how it works. Now, how does a recruiter understands whom to recruit in this scenario? Now, while all these things were going like this, suddenly something new came, and it came with a bang. That is the AI, artificial intelligence. While AI is not pretty new in the town, it was there for quite some time. However, we used to call it in different names. Machine learning existed even before that. Neural networks existed even before that. Now, so the story I'm going to tell to all of you is how design evolved initially, where we were initially and how we are moving towards. And I would leave you with a question mark to ponder for all of you to think whether only designing personas, wireframes, UIs will make you a good UX designer or an interaction designer. Okay, so let me start my presentation. I will share. Okay, it says the host disabled participant screen sharing. I think you need to enable that.
Yes, sir. I'll just fix that.
Yeah. क्या बता रहे हैं? Yeah, I think I can share now. Thank you. Let me show you. Can you see my screen? It says
Yes.
AI in design.
Yeah, it's
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
visible.
Okay, great, wonderful. Just a second. Okay, now let me take you through this story. Now, see, uh, when we talk about design, you see in this slide, you can see uh, design started primarily in Bauhaus, uh, during the First World War at that time. And all of us know, we know the principle of form follows function. And very beautiful artifacts related to lifestyle accessories products, furnitures were designed by leading designers at the time in Bauhaus. And we continued that legacy, and it still continues to play a major role in across all design institutes, studios around the world. Now, if you see, when we design a product, we are primarily focusing on the features of the product, on the parts of the product, if we can say in layman's language. And this was the first phase of design where the focus was on the artifact alone. As we changed, as generations passed, we moved on to the concept of smart products. So essentially, in all tangible products, you now see a software is embedded. You know, and using those softwares, we do a lot of automated tasks using that product. Gradually, we entered into the third phase where uh, the software that was embedded into the product was connected to multiple devices. So this was the phase where connected products or an ecosystem of IT-enabled products came up. And these led to the fourth revolution where now uh, in last 10 years, we did a lot of discussions on the ecosystem of the product. That means where you have the product, you have multiple other products, and they are being connected together. And using this connected nature, we do a lot of automated tasks where the trigger itself can be at one place and individual triggers across all the products or the artifacts need not be given. It can be a loop-based system. However, now in the recent times, we are talking about systems of systems where these connected products, where we are talking about, is considered as one ecosystem. And when it goes into a particular context, like if you can see the fifth phase, where you see there is a weather data system, there's a seed optimization system, there's an irrigation system, farm management system. So we are talking about clusters of multiple ecosystems that work together to address a particular situation of farming in a particular scenario. So here you see each one of these is an ecosystem: the weather data system, the seed optimization system, the irrigation system, the tractor, the farm equipment system. So all these becomes an ecosystem, systems of systems, and they're interacting with each other in order to ensure that the work is carried out smoothly. Now, why I'm talking about this? I'm talking about this is to highlight or show you the complex nature of design that is evolving now, which we are calling as a paradigm shift in how designers used to work. If you see at the first phase, it was a standalone product. And if you look at the fifth phase, you would realize the nature of complexities, the nature of different artifacts, the nature of relationships that are being thought about, and the complex nature of the designer's role in designing these systems. So this is where we currently we call it as product services ecology. Now, when we talk about this product service ecology, there are two distinct things we need to understand. One is the inherent nature of the products, the other is the inherent nature of services. Now, if you look at the left-hand slide, left-hand side of the picture, where it says products and services, you can see I have listed down certain characteristics like interdependence, complexity and number of interactions, movement character, width of scope, tangibility or physical character, relationship with problems. Now, these are classical nature of how we can compare between products and services. Now, when we talk about products and we take up the criteria interdependence, we know that products can deliver services. Okay. Now, when we talk about services, we are essentially talking about an ecosystem where the connectedness is there. And in this ecosystem, there are not only one product, there are multiple products associated. So the nature of interdependence is higher in services than in products. Complexity and number of interactions. If you take a single product, it is much more simple, and nature of interactions are also very simple. However, when we talk about services, because we are talking about the connectedness of multiple products, the complexity and number of interactions are much more complex. Now, movement character. A product essentially is static unless and until there is a trigger and a task is being asked by the user to be done by it. However, when we are talking about the services, it is highly dynamic. Whenever there is certain point of trigger, whether a physical trigger is given or a database trigger is given, it starts recreating a particular loop. It responds to that trigger. So it's always active and dynamic and responds to its the trigger. Likewise, width of scope, tangibility, relationships with problems, relevance of differentiation. I have listed down all these things to highlight that when we talk about services, the width of scope is really wider. The physical character is intangible. So for a designer to think about a service that is highly intangible is much more complex than thinking about a product that is highly tangible in nature. And when we talk about services, one of the important parts is the nature of problems that it can solve is huge, while nature of problems that gets created is also huge. So therefore, a lot amount of effort is required to audit such systems and anticipate the kind of issues that can be highlighted. Right? Similarly, I have listed down the areas versus the activities of designing a product, designing a service. So for craft and techniques, it is related to manufactured character of products. And when we talk about service, it is related to organizational change and backend systems. Again, complexity. Designing a service is highly complex because of so many products associated to it, so many interconnections that has been established. When we talk about prototyping, generally for services, we do a scale down prototyping. However, for products, we go for a models, renders, mockup. So these are the kind of differences I'm trying to highlight, the nature of the reality of this changing paradigm of design, where we are working for a really intelligent and smart system. Now, moving on to the next slide, I have moved to this slide that it calls data-driven new world order. I think it's visible to all of you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Now, when we talk about, see, since we talked about moving from one product to a complete ecosystem of services where multiple products are there, one interesting thing has happened. You know what? While we have connected so many devices, so many services together, a lot of data started getting generated. So now what we see is a data-driven new world order. Everywhere that you go, there is a data that has been generated. In earlier times, it used to get generated, but used to be in pen and paper mode. However, now because of this interconnectedness of the systems and the softwares that are being embedded into products, data is getting generated at every devices, at every situation. You can look at this graph, you know, in 2010, where we were, and by 2025, where we would be. Now here, we are talking about zettabytes. It's not gigabytes or terabytes. We are talking about zettabytes. We are we would be touching around 200 zettabytes by 2025. This is the global data that is getting generated annually. So huge number of data that is getting generated. And they are being getting recorded in an ecosystem where you have the database, you have the softwares embedded into system. Even in your small mobile phones, huge amount of data is getting generated because of the activities that you are doing. Now, in the right-hand side, you can see the volume of data created, captured, copied, and consumed worldwide. So by 2025, you can see where we would be and where we started in 2010. Now, what does that mean? Now, for a futurist, for a designer is highly creative, right? For a designer, he must think where we are going, what all these things are telling us. It tells us about a story. It tells us about a future that is inherently data driven. And what does that mean? That means if we analyze data, what does it mean? It means these data that is getting generated are the digital footprints of our user, isn't it? Every device, every location, every smart system that you are using, you are leaving thousands and millions of your digital footprints there. Now, when we talk about footprints, essentially, there are two types of footprints, you know, active digital footprints and there's a passive digital footprints. Now, this active digital footprint are the ones which are intentionally shared and collected. For example, you are sharing certain pictures, certain comments, you are deleting certain files. These are shared or activity that are done intentionally. Now, in an active digital footprint, you control what you share. You can contribute to your online reputation. However, in a passive digital footprint, you are being monitored passively throughout day and night. You know, you are not aware that all your data are being collected passively. For example, your location, wherever you are traveling, your location is being collected. Location footprints are being collected. And these are not being done intentionally by the end user. These are subtly connected. And you can't control this kind of data that is getting generated. Now, there is a ethics versus privacy debate, which probably at this point we won't get into. Later when we have the Q&A session, we can have a discussion on that. However, this is currently what is happening. This is the status quo, what is happening. Now from this, what next is the question that we must ask. Now, when you have all this kind of data that is being collected, it is being collected because of certain kind of, for certain things in mind. What are the organizations going to do with this data? The first thing that they do is that they use a lot of predictive analysis methods. And these predictive analysis methods helps them to decipher the kind of decision that you might take in the future. And based on what decision you are going to take in the future, a lot of information is being curated to you through the devices that you are currently using. So majority of the organizations nowadays use this data to identify what I have listed down here, business process improvements, improving customer experience, guiding the company's strategy. I mean, 10 years, 20 years down the line, where should the company invest? Which kind of services should the company provide? What kind of market, niche market it should get into? Deriving performance measurement, return on investment metrics, right? Informing marketing and communication strategies. Creating or modifying products and services and monitoring. So this is the most important aspect where, in order to sustain a healthy share in the market in terms of revenue, they must beat their competitors. And this is where, data analysis of the digital footprints that we are sharing plays such a major role, where curated data, we say that hyper targeting of information is being done in order to attract users, and the company wants to be in the competition as number one, wants to beat all the competitions across its competitors. So these are the benefits of data analysis, that helps in decision making. Now, when we talk about decision making, I just move on to the next slide. This is where the role of AI comes, Now, the moment we talk about AI, what comes in our mind? ChatGPT, right? And then Mid-Journey, right? And so many other tools are there. Now, even WhatsApp have now started providing AI supported conversations or search engine in their systems. Now, when we talk about this AI, understand that AI is a black box. What it does, this black box, a lot of data is being fed into this black box. And there are a lot of codes that are being written. And these codes are written to ensure that the system can understand the nature of relationships that are being forged and made. So what will the system do? The system will initially, when an AI system is built, it doesn't start functioning from the first response. It starts learning the responses of the humans. For example, it would first try and see how does a human take a decision, and then it will make its own permutations and combinations to understand, this is how he has taken a decision. So as in more interactions with the systems increase, they becomes much more effective. They understand how relationships are formed, how decisions are being made, how humans are making their judgment. They understand it, and then they try to recreate that. This is the role of AI here. Now, quickly, I will just share what all of you guys know. It's a complex algorithm. AI is a complex algorithm that helps perform tasks that traditionally require human intelligence, and it include learning, reasoning, problem solving, blah, 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 natural language, information, all these things. Now, interestingly, there are two types of AI applications. One we call as narrow AI, the other one we call as general AI. Now, whatever, I mean, voice assistants like Siri or Alexa that you use, these are called narrow AI systems because they are tailored for specific and well-defined tasks, and they have to respond quickly in a limited scope. These are called AI, a narrow AI. However, a general AI is a more advanced form of the narrow AI, where it is capable of comprehending and learning and even applying knowledge. Where we see ChatGPT 1, 2, 3, 4, they're improving as and when people have started using it. They are forging new relationships inside the black box, which is not visible to us, and they are. It has gone to a level where it has now, based on its response, it seems to mimic the way a human would respond. So it is a system that is self-adapting and self-improving. That is what we call as a general AI. So what does it mean for our designers? See, one of the questions that are often asked to me in many conferences is that designers का तो लग गया, डिजाइन तो गए, उनके तो सब कुछ रोटी कपड़ा मकान सब छिन जाएगा. So this is because what people have a fear that this kind of systems would be disruptive in nature. So I always make this point that in early 90s, 1992 or 93, when computers were introduced for the first time in India, at that time also this kind of situations were there, that it would snatch a lot of jobs. However, what we see now, that as computers were introduced, it created a lot of opportunities, different kind of opportunities, like UX designers, UI designers, right? Which we can't even think without the computers there. So my suggestion is that it's not the AI that would disrupt the industry. It is whether you are good enough to acquire the skills to use AI in a meaningful way, which will ensure that whether designers would stay relevant to it or not. And I will give you some examples later by the time I finish my presentation. So we must be very careful, how we use AI, and we also must know that when we are using an AI system, it has a lot of inherent biases, and it is not very predictable because the systems that are being built, the nature of networking that has been done inside the systems are being done by brains which are essentially European or American or comes from that cultural frames. However, when the same system is being used by Indians, they might behave very differently. And this is where in one of our research area in our lab, where we are studying design ethics for AI, becomes very, very interesting, because the kind of mindset, the kind of mental model the designers, the programmers, the computer scientists have in the West versus the kind of mindset we have here has a very distinct flavor. I'm not saying one is good or one is bad. However, I'm saying there is a difference. And it is this difference that has to be understood and put into the system so that AI systems can never, commit certain things that are not ethical. And I can give you some examples here. Um, You know, in Japan, 2 years back, something very tragic happened when one of their uh, past premier was stabbed, and he was stabbed using a 3D printed uh, equipment. You know? And this 3D printed equipment was available in the net. You know, the machine that printed the equipment, it simply printed the equipment. So now when we talk about AI, if the
बारिश हो रहा है
systems
वहाँ
where the systems could have the intelligence to understand that this kind of crime is going to be committed by the person who is trying to get those things, then the kind of responses by the system in terms of downloading those files, CAD files, and printing those CAD files with 3D printer would have been different. And this is where ethics comes into play. So we can talk about this later once I finish this. So for designers, what currently you can see, there's a lot of repetitive tasks. So there's a lot of AI systems that are very good in automating these repetitive tasks. Uh, and they can enhance the creative processes by generating design options, personalizing user experience, and providing data-driven insights. I will quickly give you some examples here. For example, automating repetitive tasks, Canva magic resize. Traditionally, so many tasks you were supposed to do, like resizing images, formatting layouts, color correction. You can do all these things using this tool, Canva Magic Resize, very quickly, and it reduces a lot of effort and time for you. Then generative design options, being image creator. These are generative systems where you give them a trigger, a text, and it would create certain images for you. You guys know it better than me, so I don't need to get into that. A lot of this is actually being used in architecture for generating 3D design options, and have a discussion with the clients regarding the preferences of the structure and the designs as well. Recently, you can personalization of the UI. Figma AI allows you to generate UI and prototypes without having to create them manually. Wonderful feature. You see where this kind of systems are going and how designers can leverage the use of these tools. Recently, this is an interesting story where Nike is using a lot of data mining to customize their customers' experience. For example, you can use Tableau, you can use Microsoft's own analytics tools to create this. Now, when a large company like Nike, uses AI to enhance customer experience, you can understand what kind of effort or um, tasks they are trying to reduce. They are trying to reduce, or they're trying to focus on increasing the efficiency on these two tasks, finding the right fit. So it uses a combination of AI to help customers quickly find the right size of the food, save time, save money, and it also helps in processing and restocking expenses. Customizing the customer experience through data mining. They have a lot of tools and analytics to drive more personalized experience. Now, when we talk about personalization, I want you to understand that we are currently in a phase where we have gone to hyper personalization, where curated information is given to only one individual. So my device, the information that I get in my device, versus your device, both are different. That's called hyper personalization. It is completely different. Previously, personalization, the concept of personalization was clustered. So you have a set of characteristics. For this characteristics, this is there. Now it has gone to tailor-made personalization to that individual level. So on the mobile app, Nike uses a combination of computer vision, machine learning, AI, augmented reality to show customers what the show would look. I mean, I just gave some screenshots here in terms of right size, uh, right shoe size. Very interesting. This is how they're leveraging the use of these technologies in order to enhance the customer experience. So now Nike also collects data from a wide variety of sources. Its application from retail stores and from supply chain. Now it combines this data and uses AI to analyze and find patterns. Now patterns, though designers, we say patterns in a very superficial way. When we talk about mathematically or from the perspective of computer science, finding patterns is not so easy task. It involves a lot of technicalities. While we don't expect designers to do that, but at least if we know the competencies of certain features of AI systems, we can probably use them in coming up with ideas that would improve the customer experience. Now, quickly, I would show you two works from our group. We at the Usability Engineering and Human-Computer Interaction Lab, we generally work in the area of AI in user experience design. This is our design circle at IIT Guwahati. I invite all of you to come and spend some time with us here. It would be a wonderful learning experience. Now, the first work that we did was, I think all of you are aware with this, NID, IITs, they conduct a lot of studio tests. A lot of questions are being asked during the entrance exams. Students are asked to sketch, to draw products, right? I think all of you agree on me with this. So now the question is, as we are progressing, the number of students appearing for these entrance exams are also increasing day by day. 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000. And with the limited number of faculties, it is increasingly getting difficult for the faculties to individually test these answer scripts and provide with marks in a stipulated time. I mean, this is one aspect. The other aspect is not one person can evaluate all the mark sheets, right? You will have number of individuals who would evaluate these mark sheets. Now, when we talk about two different personalities evaluating a particular drawing or a sketch of a product, they have their own personalities. Someone can like it, someone may not like it. They have their individual biases. Now, this was with which we started this research work. So we wanted to ensure how these issues about scalability and personal biases can be reduced. So what we did a detailed ethnographic study with almost, if I'm not wrong, around 68 design educators, including some of them from NITs, to understand how do they evaluate these answer scripts. And after knowing them, we designed an AI system that would behave like them. So here, what you see is that it's a structure of the AI system that we have developed. It's now working here in our Department of Design, where if you provide the image of the answer script of the students to the system, it will give you a novelty score of how novel the responses. And currently, we have developed the system since last 3 years. We have been testing it, and it has become increasingly powerful to predict the ranks now. So we have tallied it with human evaluators, and we could see around 87% of match between what the AI system that we developed had given the novelty score versus what the humans have uh, evaluators have given. This is one of the research work that we have done here. The other research work that we have recently done is in cancer research, where we have developed this, what you see here in the right hand side. We have developed two devices. These have recently been patented. We have got the grants for them, and one is for cervical cancer, and the other one is for wound healing device. Now, what we understood is that if you just design these systems, people will not use it because of the inherently diverse nature of medical structure hierarchies we have. Because if you come in Assam, if you go to rural areas, the primary healthcare centers, you don't have trained people. So how will these people use this kind of devices? So what we have done, we have embedded a conversational interface in these devices, AI system. And so what you see, a patient who is coming to take a service in wound healing or cancer diagnostics, you have the machine, you can interact with the machine, and you can get yourself either screened or diagnosed or treated to some extent. Now, while we designed this, you see in the left-hand side of the screen, you see 16 new heuristics. I'm sure you are aware of heuristic evaluation of Jacob Nielsen, where he has proposed 10 heuristics. Now, what we understood that when you design a AI-enabled systems or a specifically conversational user interface system, these Jacob Nielsen's heuristics are not sufficient. So we have designed our own heuristics, which is stated in the left-hand side of your screen, 16 new heuristics, which can be used for designing such systems. Okay, so I just listed it here. If any one of you is eager to know about this in detail, I can share the research papers which we recently published in some prestigious journals.
Yeah, we
So
would love
this,
to get those
yeah,
papers actually.
Yes,
sure,
please.
sure, sure, I will share. So now what you see here, you see we are not only using AI systems to improve the design process. You see, we are trying to use AI systems in order to address a societal problem like healthcare, uh, which has resource scarcity. You know, and this is where I think is the new role for designers. You must understand how AI systems can uh, improve certain situations, delivery of services, improve efficiency. Or the last project that I showed you, well, you may not be able to code them, but if you work in a group, I have a beautiful group here of computer scientists and design researchers, designers who work on these systems, and we have created this kind of systems over the last uh, 7-8 years or so. Okay, so I think I have taken a lot of time on this discussion anyway. So I will end here now. We'll be open for question and answer. You can reach me. I have given my email ID here. You can reach me anytime for any inquiry. And I invite all of you to visit us and spend some time with us. Thank you. I'm stopping the sharing screen, open for any questions from your side.
Uh, I had one about about how these days we are seeing how AI, when you feed it content from that it has generated, it turns into a very horrible mess very quickly. So,
Yes.
regarding that project that you showed about evaluation of seed papers, does it, do you, matlab, does it actually happen? Will it happen at some point uh, where it is not giving the correct answer or it is not evaluating correctly because it is of like
Well,
I don't know
so
how it works. So
yeah, so it depends on the logic, of how the internal systems work. I will give you the logic. In the past also this kind of systems were developed, and people tried identifying absolute novelty. That means if a student is designing or sketching something, whether it's absolutely novel or not, whether something exists in the world or not. you know Now, when we think about those kind of novelty, it is really difficult to establish that. You know, but I'm so happy that my scholar, my researcher, and we together, we developed a different strategy. We said, no, we don't need absolute novelty. What we need is a comparative novelty. So if 100 students are giving the exams, we want to see who is first, who is second, who is third, who is fourth. So compare novelty across them, not compare novelty across the entire knowledge body that we have. This is where I say designers can play a much important role. Computer scientists can't think from that side. You know, we can think from this side. That don't think from that logic. Think from this logic. Probably we'll get the answer, and we got it. So currently, the system we have developed, it would require another 2 years of training. Once it is 91, 93% very close, then probably we are in talks with the TCS to hand it over for seed and the usage systems. So, as I said, testing and logic are the two answers that I'm giving you is very important. And as I said, designers can visualize, which engineers can't. This is the power of designers. So with this power, you can visualize what is happening inside the AI systems, why it is not able to give me answers. And you can correct it. I hope I have answered your question.
yeah, thank you.
I had another question regarding the same project. What kind of training data would you be using for answer sheet evaluations?
Oh, so what we have done, we have tested it with 50,000 seed answer scripts of last 10 years.
Are these students who have cleared seed or what ranks?
So these are the students who has appeared for seed and have been given a seed score. So
I
we
have a question.
so we were not interested in score. Getting a score is really difficult mathematically. What we were interested in ranking. This is this
Yeah.
change in strategy that we adopted.
Am I
Yes,
audible?
yes, yes.
I had a question. So, regarding the same thing, so in seed paper, there are like answers where the sketching is not that good, but the idea is brilliant, and where the
Absolutely.
some paper where ideas are not that good, but the sketching is brilliant. So, how do you
I
navigate
know
through
your
that?
question. I can understand from where it is coming.
Yeah.
So there are two parts of it. One is skill, one is the ability to visualize something which is not there. If you read literatures, skills are something that can be trained. So when we talk about sketching, sketching is a skill. It's a hand and motor activity. It's a skill that can be trained. What can't be trained to some extent is your ability to come up with creative ideas. The
Yeah.
ability to relate things which can't be related. You know, these are really special things, though many scientists now believe that creativity can also be trained. But then if you compare training a person to be creative versus training a person to be skilled it is much more easier to train a person to be skilled than versus training somebody to become creative.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yes, sir.
therefore, in the responses, what we do, we also focus on the line quality, okay? But the prominence in is given on the nature of the response. See, I talked about novelty. The word is
Yeah.
novelty, the uniqueness of the response. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
So we have many questions from a lot of students. So we'll give you some. So one of the students asked, will this dependence on AI turn into codependence? So what are your thoughts on that?
So this is a behavior related question. You know, now if you go to behavior science, every 7 years, a particular behavior, there's a shift of behavior in a population, in a mass, and that has been there since time immemorial. If not AI, something else will be. The quest for human civilization to improve itself has always been there. You know, from fire, from woods to gas, now to electric cookers, we are improving every day. So this dependency would be there, that's for sure. But what I am saying is that to fear it, that as designers we can't work in this domain, and it's only the domain of the people from computer science, it is a wrong idea. You know, it's a very doable area for designers. In fact, good designers who are good visualizations, who can imagine the future, with very creative in terms of visualizations, they would do exceedingly well if they come in this field of AI, and they can wonderfully do something, come up with unique products, unique systems that would, ensure addressing so many societal problems. So that is the way out. But you can't change the behavior. If not AI, something else will be.
Right. Thank you, sir.
So you had mentioned about how there is the developer's bias of how a lot of the all of it's all being created in America or in Europe. So do you think
Yes.
that something like that could propagate Eurocentric cultures and ideologies?
So what happens? See, India is a very unique case study. Walmart tried to enter it, it failed because of the concept that whatever they designed the products there, it would also run here. We're not like that. A very diverse culture. Now, the issue is when we talk about design ethics, you see, almost all the ethic related principles, value-added design, other ethic designs, these are all Western theory. However, now we are working on Indian ethics for designing. So one of my researcher who is working, he has in fact read, Vedas, Shastras to understand what is the Indian philosophy. And he has never read that. He's cursing me day in, day out that why did I take this? But he's also enjoying this field because he's a computer science person. He did his MDes and now he's into this field. So what we understood is that Western concept is very individualistic in nature. It talks about privacy at an individual level. However, when we come down to India, we are more focused towards the effect of certain things at this societal level. First, at the level of the family, then friends, then society. This is very unique to us. And that's why I call India as a cosmic chaos. Even in this chaos, you would see there is a harmony. There is some kind of belief that we should not hurt others. We should not do something that would influence others in a way. So this thing is completely different when you go to the Western side. And now when these people are designing systems using those, they are focused on the individual entity, end user only. They're not thinking on the society, effect of it on the society, on the family. No, recently somebody shared a meme with me. There's a girl of 8 or 9 years. She has been hospitalized. She is used to looking at reels so much that her index finger started behaving in a different way, in a dynamic way, even while she is asleep. You know. Now we never thought about these. These are dark patterns that we say, which affect the human civilizations. And over the years, we are going to see this. Now, the Western people who have designed it has never thought about all these things. They have designed it because they think it's not their issue. But the moment we think from the Indian side, we have to see this. Recently in Italy, somebody he printed a 3D printed gun, and he shooted 2 people. Now think about an AI system who had this boundary that if the person was printing the 3D printed gun, if the system had intelligence enough to understand why this person is being printing, what is his motive, what was he searching since some time, what was his posts, his digital footprint, you know. Now, in the Western concept, it is not there because they are focusing on the person who is doing that. For him, there is ethics. But what about others who are getting affected? So therefore, we need a lot of Indian designers to come, spend time in doing this research and tell to the world that it is not about individual, it also about the family, the society, the larger community that we are staying, where we need to ensure that the effect of these dark patterns are negated.
This question actually came up because so in class we were looking at different generative AI softwares, and in one of them we tried the prompt to generate a drawing of like a child, and it gave so it generated an image of like maybe an American boy, and then we made
Yes.
the edit. Make this an Indian child, and then they maintain the same image, but they put the Taj Mahal in the background. Yeah.
Wonderful.
So that kind of
So,
training data seems very biased and has very Eurocentric standards, even if we ask it to cater to
yes,
our
yes.
requirements.
Yes, true. And therefore, a lot of effort has to go from Indians, from our side, to develop systems which have this kind of entities embedded in it. I mean, these kind of features there. That is important. And I'm very happy there are a lot many groups in India who are. I mean, we are one of the groups who are working on design ethics, specifically from India perspective. There's another group from IT Bombay is working on this group. I mean, this kind of issues. The 2, 3, 4 groups who are working on these issues, and probably the future is good in terms of systems who will have this kind of ethic-centered designs embedded into the systems from the Indian perspective.
So, thank you for that. I have a question regarding the cancer research project that you did. So, like in domains like healthcare or research specific to healthcare, so I'm assuming there are like millions of data relating to the training of the AI model. So, what happens like when it comes across a moment of time when there's no training data to actually back the action that is to be taken? So in that case, do AI models improvise, or do they like shut down or go back to like making
No, no,
some
no.
errors or something?
So one way of doing this is we call this technique as Wizard of the Oz technique. So what we do is that we ask somebody to mimic like a computer system, and we ask somebody to mimic that personality to that show if we don't have that kind of data. But then India is a highly populated country. We generally get a lot of data. If you really go into, collecting data, and let me tell you, we actually have a very, we can get cheap data. If you go to Europe and US, collecting data is a very costly affair. It's a very, very costly affair. So for one data, this mechanical Turk is there, Amazon's product, which is being used in the US and the European for studying UX things. So for one data that you collect, minimum you have to give around 25 to 30 cents. And now you can calculate if you collect 10,000 data, the amount of cost that you will incur. So in that sense, we are very cheap. I so many workshops I have done in Assam to understand these things. I have asked them, I have just gave them some toffees. They happily agreed, they came, they participated, and we got very good data. So India is, in that sense, very resourceful.
Thank you, sir.
So we've learned a little bit about the Gartner curve of new technology trends. Where do we stand today?
I would not use the Gartner curve. I would say the future is non-visual. The future is conversational. Okay, you would have systems which will have no UI. If you look at what the leaders of the telecom industry have said, they said by 2030, the mobile phone, the device that you have in your hands is going to go out. Okay. There would be systems embedded into your shirt, into your wearable devices that will directly use conversations to give you information and to receive feedback from you. Now, when you are moving to these kind of scenarios, my really hard go outs to UI designers, where will they go? If they don't catch up how these complex systems are designed, it's going to be a nightmare, I'm telling you. And conversation user interfaces are not simple to design. They're very difficult unless you know the systems behind it. Okay, so it is all going to be conversational. Intelligent computing systems would be embedded everywhere. It would be pervasive in nature. You take any systems, it would be intelligent. And then whenever you, either through your voice or through any other gestures or through any other physiological signs and symbols, it would get triggered. It would understand correctly the requirements that you have, and accordingly it would process the response to you. So we are going to that kind of systems.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so all of you are welcome to visit us. Please come and spend some time with our group. I always, wherever I go, I make this because it is important that we catch up to the industry demands in the future. And as I said, if you really need to work in the UX domain, UX has gone to a field where we have moved beyond interfaces. Now it is all about research, publishing papers, patenting your work. You must be very good in research. Otherwise, in 10 years, you would see it would be a very different story where things are not the way we see.
I had something to ask. Just out of curiosity, if you could share your views on the same. So nowadays we see that a lot of surgeries are being taken care of by robots. Even though the doctors are present there in the room, in the surgery room, they aren't the ones who are actually operating or interacting directly with the patient. Rather, they are interacting indirectly. So do you really see that AI could also venture into that part of it where the doctor just feeds in that this is the particular surgery to be done and you just carry it?
So I will go to one step ahead. We have our nanotechnology department here, and Professor Chattopadhyay, very eminent scientist from Stanford. He works here. He's a regular faculty here. His lab is working on designing nanobots, that would go into the bloodstream of human body, and it would remain there with all the essential requirements, commodities. And whenever there is an issue, it would directly go and treat. So I am going one step ahead to what you have said. You said surgery on demand. I said you never know what is happening inside the body. The bots will know, which are present in your blood, that would directly go and treat without you being knowing that something is happening inside you. So we recently, in one of our technical festival, they have presented their work. It is at a very initial stage, but this is where it will go in the future.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir, for the answer.
So there's a question from Pratik in the chat. He asks, hello, sir, I have a question. In the current situation, which software should we learn for the future regarding to design?
So what is a software? Software is a language. If I know what to speak, I can acquire any language, isn't it? You must know what to speak. I can speak. If I learn Hindi, I will learn Hindi and tell what to speak. So what I am trying to say, software is not important. The logic is important. You must have the logic. If you have the logic, software, I will tell you, in 100, 200, 300 rupees, you will get computer science people who can write those things for you. But they can't tell you the logic I'm telling you. It is as simple as that. Somebody doesn't know English, but he knows what to communicate. So he asks someone else to write that in English, and then he speaks it out. But to give you a small answer, Python is the future, which does a lot of tasks. But I will not suggest that Python, because after 3-4 years, another Cobra will come. You never know. So it is better to focus on the logic rather than the language.
Thank you so much, sir. Uh, I think that's all we have. Questions from our end. I feel like our understanding of AI seems almost kiddish from where we started. Very superficial, and it's just like a buzzword that we've been hearing for so long, that all these companies, they have been sprinkling it in their products everywhere and almost misusing the word, I feel now. But now we have a better understanding, and I guess we can overcome the fear of AI taking over our jobs and kind of just work with the new technology. Thank you so much for that. It was a very
Wonderful.
fun and interactive session. So, as we conclude this session, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Debayan Dhar for sharing his invaluable insights on the transformative impact of AI in design. It has truly been an enriching experience, and we are inspired by your contributions to the field of design. We are very excited to see how your projects come up. We will be following up on that. Um, yes, I'd like to thank all of the students and participants who joined us today. Your enthusiasm and engagement have made this session so much more meaningful. And we are very excited to hopefully have you on campus, or maybe we will come to your campus. And
Yes, that is
yes,
more important. I would feel very happy if all of you come down to my campus and we can spend some time on some projects, probably working on some projects together. That would be wonderful. And these
yes,
informal sessions actually sometimes give birth to great ideas. That's what I feel.
yes.
So I will look forward, and I was so happy and excited that even after classes, all of you have participated, which I don't see too much in IITs. So that is good. Thank you so much. I will share the PPT. I have heard some people
Yes.
writing same there.
Yeah.
And I will also share the links of the papers.
Yes.
And you can
Yes.
reach me out. Okay, reach me out. And if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer. Thank you once again. I'm closing the session as of now. Thank you,
Okay.
guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.